Greetings, my peeps. I'm John the Verbose, and this is take 2 of my video because it is 94 degrees and the sun is just shining on the back of my camera and it overheated and I heard it shut off while I was recording. So, yeah. So, this time I took off my bandana and it is shading my camera, hopefully effectively. So this video is a video response to YouTuber Pagan Tree. And her video is the "Why the Label" tag. So since it is this tag, stag tag, since it is a tag video, you're tagged. So I challenge everyone to take up this challenge. Why the label? So it is really hot, and I just had to restart my camera again. So I'm going to try to get through this really quickly. So I'm John the Verbose, which, now John is my first name. Well, it is, my channel name is also my craft name, and it does follow a pattern that is in the Druid Chronicles of the Reformed Druids of North America, which were written in 1963 by the college students that founded the Druid Order. And it was written in a King James English style. And so the naming convention took on a faux biblical trend, and not everyone took it up. Some people stuck with their full names, and some took on various types of craft name. But the most common one was, like, we have our founder David Fisher, and in the Druid Chronicles he is listed as David, who was a fisher. Okay, so my camera kept overheating, so I found this little shady glade that I've been to before. Anyway, to pick up from where we left off, I was talking about David, who was a fisher. And his real name was David Fisher, and they just kind of went with, it was kind of like a John the Baptist reference. But there were two Davids, and there was one who wrote down all the history and our rituals. Well, he took up the name David the Chronicler. And then we also had Thomas the Fool, and I believe Thomas the Fool's name inspired Mike the Fool, who was the 30th Archdruid of Carleton College. Hi, Mike. And then we had individuals like Andrea the Fair, Paul the Mighty, and so I took up John the Verbose, and then most of my Grove mates kind of took on the same style, so they have a Reformed Druid craft name. So why the verbose, though? And that's because growing up, for some reason, I was often misunderstood, or my words, which shouldn't have been misunderstood, were otherwise misinterpreted. And so because of how often I was misinterpreted, I decided my best way to communicate would be by elaboration. I would say things 3 different ways to make sure to mitigate the chances of what I say getting misinterpreted. And so, and of course, if you get me on a topic that I like to talk about, I will be talking about that for quite some time. So it's not about hearing myself speak. Like most people, I don't really like to hear my own voice. So it's not about that. It's more about making sure I am fully communicating. And so more so than other people that I know. So that is my craft name and channel name label. Regarding how I identify as a druid, the way I see it, I like to think of not how I label myself, but how would others label me. And I'm not talking about all others, I'm more thinking of the sociologists. They love labeling people and fitting them into these nice little compartments. And then you have theologians who academically have to label people if they're like looking at people based on their spiritual practice. And so I apply some critical thinking and try to determine where would a sociological based theologian peg me. And in my quest to determine who I was spiritually. It's like I researched heavily on the different modern Druid orders and some of the revivalist Druid orders that I think are mostly gone now, or at least not what they were anymore. But based on my spiritual practice, I did discover the Reformed Druids probably about in 2004. And I didn't pay too much attention to them because I had learned that they didn't really take themselves very seriously. And I mean, despite the fact that what I was doing on my own as a personal, like self-described druid was extremely similar to what a Reformed druid would do in ritual and practice. So even though they were based in Minnesota, it's like it was that part where they don't take themselves too seriously. And that's still important, that I eventually learned that there's the spiritual significance to not taking something seriously. I think it alleviates the potential for burnout to a degree. There are many other benefits, but that's the first one that comes to my mind. So I came back to the Reformed Druids. Why? I think sociologically and theologically, there's a lot of gray area for many of us. And so that's why it's like any single one label may not be beneficial for some. You don't have to apply just one label. It's like, it's a multifaceted thing. And I delight in the gray areas of things, where not everything has to be absolute. Not everything has to be black and white. And not everything has to be duotheistic. There are shades of gray in between. And so that really drew me in, and Reformed Druidism really acknowledges that. And so essentially, it was, I mean, to a degree, you could say I was giving in to a particular label, but it was a darn good fit, and it's been that way. And my camera just quit again, and it's 94 degrees out, so I apologize. We're just going to end it here and let my camera cool off so I don't destroy it. But that's essentially all I had, because I was starting to ramble and be verbose. So, with apologies to no one, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.